everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are summing up the results of November. This month was unpredictable but still very interesting for me in color combinations and selection of coloring books. Since in the last month of autumn, I wanted to color more of these illustrations in yellow, orange, burgundy and brown shades. Also use different materials. Well, let's not talk a lot and we start. First, I want to show you an illustration that started in October but finished in November. It's very beautiful witch in Korean coloring book Mystica by Dada Chao. And I love the way this illustration looks. I finally remembered about this book. It's not very friendly with water, so I decided to try a color to here. But they behaved badly and I had to finish the background with luminance portrait set. This month I continued to get to know them. But the way their friendship is successful, I colored this picture only with these pencils. In addition to hair, I made them with Faber-Castell polychromos. Thanks to this illustration, I fell in love with luminance once and forever. And as for a color scheme, the combination of pink and purple helped me to create a magical atmosphere. The pumpkin, a symbol of autumn and Halloween, is made in orange shades. I decided this would be the best solution because illustration needed this color, and the frame completed the whole picture in this coloring book. In general, I really liked this illustration. Successful color scheme, wonderful coloring book played its role, so I'm quite happy how it looks and glad that finally returned to using this adorable book. Let me show you this illustration closer. I'm quite content with finished illustration. It's very adorable and interesting, partly unusual. Next, I want to show you a very talented illustrator, Lenka Filonenko, and her coloring book Enigma. I caught a second wind and colored it with a great pleasure. This time, my friend chose the illustration for me and asked me to color the girl like her, with brown hair and dark pink flowers. Seeing the finished result, she said liked the skin, the hair too, but the flowers needed to be a little darker. Therefore, when she saw the finished result again, she said that it was very beautiful and the girl was very similar to her. Also, I decided to use orange for the background. It added some charm to this illustration and as a result a very autumnal girl. So the skin is colored with luminance portrait set. Everything else with Prismacolor Premiere and added a white gel pen to highlight the key. As for me, thanks to the dark pink, orange and red shades, this is one of the most autumn girls of this month and possibly the previous ones. Also, I wanted to draw your attention to the leaves. They are colored with pastel shades and added a bit of pink, brown and red tints for focusing on a girl or a key. I am also fond of this result and will be happy to make another one or more next month. You also can see the illustration in detail. Do you like it? Yes or no? I'd be interested to know your opinion, so I'm waiting for your comment. Also, 2 illustrations in Petra's coloring book were completed this month. The first is the welcome page. I planned to color it last month, but unfortunately didn't have time, but this month I finally did it. I enjoy coloring these flowers and I love how I colored the background. The illustration itself is very simple and didn't take too much time. Thanks to the dark background, it looks good and complete. I enjoy working with watercolors. It helps me relax, relieve tiredness, and develops my imagination. I chose such an unusual color palettes because uncolored, this illustration looked empty and not very attractive. So I added such a winning background and the illustration began to play in a new way. I colored the background with watercolors such as white nights, sonnet, and also added Van Gogh interference and metallic colors. As for me, it's stunning illustration. As for this illustration, I tried to use some unusual pastel colors which are appropriate for the autumn skins. And in the end, I'm really happy how everything looked here. Unusual colors, interesting background did the trick. The illustration looks complete and very beautiful. Although from the very beginning I didn't like it at all. When I painted the upper flowers, then green, I realized that I want to make the background as well, and didn't have time to realize how the illustration was ready. So let me show you closer. It's absolutely beautiful coloring book and I want to color there more and more. Well, let's move further. And finally, I colored another one illustration in Queens of Poland by Kristina Nowak. I've got requests from my subscribers to make a tutorial how I color the skin better when drawing. Therefore, I decided to do it. Firstly, I reviewed all the illustrations with portraits and only one came to me. Following this, I started making a video. It was so exciting to color the skin with these pencils and therefore I will use these color combinations in further illustrations. Why not? I'm fond of the final result, although initially I didn't like her left eye and nose, but in the end I fixed it all. And at the moment the illustration looks beautiful and rich, which characterizes the Queens of Poland. I hope you like it as much as I do. A very good thing for November was that I managed to start some new books. This month I purchased them. Things all come together. I decided to make a video starting new coloring books. And I immediately started these wonderful illustrations. First, I will show you the words for the seasons by Kanoka Egusa, and in it I colored 3 illustrations, 1 large and 2 small ones. Let's start with the 2 smaller illustrations. They both are really nice, but as for me, this illustration is better than another. I was always curious to know how long it would take to paint this miniature. And now I can confidently say that it took me 3 hours. I made it completely with polychromoses and added a white gel pen. On this paper all the pencils are good, and I also wanted to test the prisms here. And what do you think? So I didn't stop and color the second miniature with alkaline watercolor markers, and they are bad on this paper, so I won't use them here anymore. What about the owl? This one is a little bit easier in coloring, therefore I deliberately selected a limited color palette to complicate my task, and it was also funny to color this illustration. As for the complex illustration, it will be the next. Very detailed picture colored with Prismacolor Premiere and a white gel pen. It was really interesting to do all these details, and probably that's why I love Kanoka Egusa's books. Because they have so many details in the pictures, I enjoy coloring them. It took me a relatively long time to color the small details, but was worth it. You can see everything in more detail. I adore this coloring book and especially enjoy the finished results. Another book which I started in November is Flowers and Girls. All the pictures are absolutely adorable. I saw this illustration only warm and cozy. Like a very beautiful girl walks in a sunny autumn park and holds a cup of coffee or maybe tea in her hands. She examines every yellowed leaf and drinks her hot coffee. It's a very cute picture colored in the end of November. All pencils worked very well on this paper. I used Prismacolor Premiere and Faber-Castell Polychromos. Also painted the background with Nacolor too. The paper here is not up for the watercolors, but Nacolor too can be painted the background very carefully. And I'm quite content with finished illustration. It's very easy but interesting picture. Stunning illustration. As I said earlier, I am fond of Filonenko's style, and this is the second illustration of her, completed this month. You also know I like cute coloring books which are connected to various holidays of the year, and here we have illustrations for Halloween, Thanksgiving Day and Christmas holiday. As for me, this illustration looks like a page from children's book. I think the idea of how a rabbit mom is carrying a freshly baked raspberry pie to her family seems very cute and interesting. At first I wanted to color everything with pencils and make only the background with watercolors, but it didn't work out for me, and I decided to change the material. So now everything is completely colored with watercolors and a white gel pen, except her clothes. And they behaved really well. It was able to spread the pigment over the old paper slowly. So I'm glad for everything here. Pumpkins, rabbit and corn are really beautiful. So it was funny to color, illustration looks fabulous and I tried to do it, I'm sure you will like it. This month I started several new books, but I have some unstarted ones, and I do all my best to try to maintain my promise of starting all of them next month. Do you know this coloring book? I love Harry Potter and everything connected to him. I've read all the books several times. I already know the films by heart. Actually, my favorite part is the first of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, possibly due to the fact that there he meets Ron and Hermione. We are just getting to know this world. The first footage from the film with Professor Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall are my favorites. It is really magic for me, and I will remain in my memory for the rest of my life. So, Magical Places and Characters is a fantastic coloring book. As I said, I love everything connected to the boy who lived, especially the coloring pages about him. This month I completed a large spread with Quidditch game in this book. For a long time I wanted to color it, but I was afraid of thick lines. They are inappropriate here. But I coped with it and painted the sky with gouache, face with pencils, and for everything else I used Ecoline watercolor markers. This coloring book has good paper, so it was easy and interesting to work with them here. In the end, I decided to deepen shadows with a black pencil so that the final version looks much better. I love this book and I love this illustration. You know how strong I love Karolina Kubikowska. She is one of my favorite illustrators, such as Kanoka, Egusa, Lenka, Filonenko, and of course Hanna Carlson. I like her style. I was so happy when my friend and I decided to try to color this beautiful coloring book, Magic Hour. Because on Halloween I didn't color anything in such an amazing book, and finally in November I realized it's time and we did it. Initially I didn't like how the background was colored. I put this illustration aside several times and thought that maybe I would never complete it. But when I finished Black Leaves, everything became fine, and as a result, I got an unusual and cute mouse. Also, I want to show the illustration of my friend. We always see the pictures differently and color them accordingly. It's fun and interesting. I will leave a link to her Instagram in the description. You can admire her illustrations. I like her style and color palette. And now I want to show my illustration in more detail. Our completed illustrations look fabulous, unusual, and we are going further. And the last one is Amarantine by Anastasia Koldareva. In this book we color every month together with Veronica. This time we chose such a man with raven. I deliberately selected a limited color palette for this illustration. When I started to color, I thought about the dark background and white bird. What about the color scheme? Firstly, I saw this illustration in blue, but then I changed it for pink and violet. At that moment, it looks unique, interesting, and mysterious. I'm happy that I did it, and I want to color them more and more. For the bird and their skin, I used luminance portrait set. All pencils behaved really well, and I'm glad for everything here, except for trees. They needed to be a little lighter, but it doesn't really matter. The completed illustration looks fabulous and unusual. You can also see Veronika's illustration on her channel. I will leave the link in the description. And let me show you this illustration closer. That was all finished illustrations in November. I also started several projects, but I will show you them next month. On this, I want to say goodbye to you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If yes, then like it, subscribe to my channel, write what you like the most. It will be very interesting for me to know your opinion. So I look forward to your comments. I also invite you to my Instagram. I will leave the link in the description. Thanks for watching me. See you soon. And bye bye.